A grim discovery in North Attleboro just took a massive twist. Today, we look at a widow left behind after a youth football game shooting in Lancaster. Meanwhile, Harrison was caught up in violent chaos, stretching across a dangerous Philadelphia neighborhood. Look, the NFL usually celebrates its elite athletes. They have unmatched speed, strength, and discipline. Watch him cut over the middle, wide open, touchdown Hernandez. But for some players, the gridiron was only half the story. Long before the draft picks, multi-million-dollar contracts, and championship rings, there was another life altogether. Streets where the rules were written in blood, loyalty was law, and trying to walk away was a death sentence. A former Atlanta Falcon was just indicted in a massive Gwinnett County human trafficking bust. We are talking about players who did not just hang around gangs. They were deep inside, calling the major shots, and carrying dark secrets that eventually caught up. Hit that subscribe button. Let's dissect Aaron Hernandez. He was a star tight end for the New England Patriots, on a fast track to becoming the absolute greatest, but massive off-field concerns caused him to slide to the 4th round of the 2010 draft. Still, once he teamed up with Rob Gronkowski, they formed the most unstoppable tight end duo in football. Absolutely dominant, dangerous, and hiding a dark side. In 2012, he promised to turn things around after signing a massive 5-year, $40 million extension with New England. Then came the birth of his daughter, Avielle, telling reporters he could not be reckless anymore. The world believed him, and so did the Patriots. But nobody knew what he had already done. On April 15, 2015, the hammer fell. He was convicted of first-degree murder in the death of Odin Lloyd, receiving life without parole. Guilty on all counts. Then, just 5 days after beating a double murder charge, where he allegedly shot and killed Daniel D'Abreu and Safiro Furtado back in 2012, Hernandez was found dead in his cell. His death was ruled a suicide. But then came the documents confirming our worst suspicions. A prison report from the Worcester District Attorney officially linked his name to the Blood Street Gang. He was even disciplined behind bars for possessing security threat group contraband. That is prison code for gang activity. Files also showed that during his stint in Bristol County Jail, he racked up multiple violations, including threatening to murder a corrections officer and his family, which is a major red flag. He failed drug tests, committed aggravated assault, refused to obey direct orders, and kept pushing the limits, all while hoarding gang material. State prison files tell an even darker story. He was cited 12 times for trouble, including getting into physical fights with other inmates. He was caught with a shank, got unauthorized tattoos, and even shared his cell with an active gang member. Behind bars, he was not playing a part, he was living it. Later, doctors diagnosed him with severe brain damage known as CTE, raising massive questions about how it altered his behavior. Boston University found stage 3 brain damage, the absolute worst case they had ever seen in someone his age. Did brain trauma trigger the violence? Possibly, but it cannot excuse his choices. He had 40 million reasons to walk away, but chose not to. Drop a like, and let's analyze Adam Pacman-Jones next. Just 2 weeks before his first training camp, Nashville police locked him up on multiple charges. We are talking assault and felony vandalism after a wild nightclub brawl. It was just the start. That arrest was merely the warm-up. The real explosion happened in Las Vegas. On February 19, 2007, he walked into a strip club with a massive pile of cash. He had nearly $100,000. Pulling 40 grand from a designer bag to get single bills. He stuffed them in a trash bag and literally made it rain. But then, the vibe turned violent. A massive fight broke out, and just minutes later, gunshots echoed outside the venue, leaving 3 people shot. A bouncer named Tommy Urbanski was caught in the crossfire and paralyzed. Now, here is where things get truly messy. An Atlanta resident named Edward Morris III was identified by investigators as a key player. They identified Morris as a co-founder of a highly dangerous street crew known for extreme violence, the International Robbing Crew. A crew so violent a task force was built to stop them. Court files show, according to police files, Jones claimed that Morris threatened him over unpaid debts, warning a close friend that if Jones refused, Morris would target him, his mother, and his daughter. In Atlanta, prosecutors revealed that Morris's gang, the IRC, was linked to as many as 8 murders. 8. And Pacman was tight with. In a June 2008 jailhouse recording, Morris called the NFL star his partner. True friends. right? A Clark County jury ordered NFL cornerback Adam Pacman-Jones to pay over $11 million for his role in a February 2007 Vegas strip club shooting that left 2 wounded, including 1 paralyzed victim. $11 million. His lawyer admitted it completely ruined him, and his pro football career was shattered right with it. Let us look at Eric Dwayne Johnson. In the final quarter of Super Bowl 37, the Oakland linebacker blocked a Tampa Bay punt and scored a 13-yard touchdown. It was easily the greatest moment of his entire life. 67,000 fans screaming, 89 million watching on television. Like this video, as we study this highlight reel moment for a career, a play destined to live forever. But 22 years later, it means nothing. You see, Johnson, who spent 6 seasons in the NFL across 3 different franchises, ended up indicted alongside 9 others for their crimes with the Lotto Gang, meaning last one to take over, tied to both the Crips and gangster disciples. Last one to take over. That cold name reveals exactly how these criminals viewed themselves. According to the official federal indictment, the ring allegedly trafficked 5 female victims, including a young minor. We are talking about a former Atlanta Falcons star caught in a massive human trafficking bust in Gwinnett County. Prosecutors say Johnson held a powerful leadership role within this dark network. A kingpin, not a follower or some bystander. He was the leader. Johnson transported victims and provided firearms for a gang exploiting 5 women, including a child. During the trial, investigators described Lotto as a highly structured network with a clear hierarchy that relied on brutal coercion to force women into trafficking. Evidence proved the syndicate had the terrifying power to expand its reach through alliances with other heavy organized crime families, leaving victims with absolutely no escape. As for the final sentence, Johnson received a 20-year term. He must spend the first 10 years of that sentence behind bars, and the remaining 10 on high-level probation. This heavy prison term is the longest handed down to any defendant in the entire Lotto case, proving the court viewed him as the absolute mastermind. The state attorney general, Chris Carr, put it bluntly, saying the Gwinnett County community is much safer with the Lotto gang locked up. He noted they targeted a criminal network that abused children for profit, hunting down everyone from the Super Bowl to the prison cell. That is the devastating downfall of Eric Dwayne Johnson. Subscribe for more dark sports stories. Brandon Marshall, New Year's Eve, 2006, downtown Denver. A VIP club party celebrating Kenyon Martin's birthday. Everything should have been fine. But a sudden clash between Broncos star Brandon Marshall and another group apparently set off a fatal chain reaction, landing several active and former Broncos players on the witness list in the case. Standing in that crowded club line, an alleged member of the Trey Crips gang took exception. Gangster Willie Clark aggressively told Brandon Marshall that they had money too. Marshall described him as out of control. The argument boiled over, spilling out into the cold streets. Darren Williams and his friends were suddenly shot when a vehicle pulled up next to their rented Hummer limousine in downtown Denver. Williams died in that brutal drive-by attack, just 24 hours after finishing his sophomore season with Denver. He was only 24. The Rocky Mountain News later broke a story, claiming they obtained a signed confession letter from Crips shooter Willie D. Clark, admitting he fired the fatal bullet that killed Williams. By 2010, Clark was convicted of Darren's murder and sentenced to life, plus an extra 1,152 years. The true tragedy, according to the tragedy is, those bullets were meant for Brandon Marshall. You and I know they simply targeted the wrong car. Williams was merely sitting in the wrong place at the wrong time, paying for Marshall's street beef with his very life. In court, Marshall admitted on the stand that he let his anger escalate the situation. Those are incredibly heavy words from a player who carried the guilt of that night for his entire life. When police later pulled him over for reckless driving, he screamed that he hated Denver and begged to get traded away. He yelled that he despised the city, demanding to know why officers were not hunting down Williams' killer. The crushing guilt consumed him. Marshall eventually got traded to Miami for a fresh start, but Darren Williams never got his. He got a grave. That dark reality followed Brandon Marshall everywhere. Now, let us dissect the story of Marvin Harrison. He is one of the greatest wideouts in league history, spending his entire 13-year career with the Indianapolis Colts. An 8-time Pro Bowler and All-Pro, he once held the single-season catch record with 143. Harrison entered the Hall of Fame in 2016. The model athlete, the quiet professional who let his play do the talking. But in 2008, that silence shattered. Sued in a civil suit by convicted drug dealer Dwight Dixon, who was shot outside Chucky's Garage, a business in North Philadelphia owned by Harrison, on April 29, 2008. The player was suddenly entangled in a series of shootings in a rough Philly neighborhood. Reports indicate that Harrison allegedly argued with Dixon, fired shots, missed, and hit an innocent bystander. He then allegedly beat Dixon and shot him in the hand. Police linked the shooting to Harrison when they matched shell casings found at the scene to a gun in his name, a Belgian-made semi-automatic pistol, a military-grade weapon capable of firing rounds powerful enough to pierce 48 layers of Kevlar. That is no self-defense tool. That is a message. Harrison claimed his innocence, swearing he had not fired the weapon in over a year, keeping it locked in his safe. Philly prosecutors confirmed the firearms belonged to Marvin, but admitted they lacked concrete proof that he actually pulled the trigger. No charges. Then, a year later, Dixon was found dead inside his car near Harrison's bar. No charges were filed in that mystery either. Highly convenient, right? It turns out Harrison's aggression was nothing new. In 2003, right before a wild-card matchup, he allegedly grabbed a Jets boy by the throat. In 2005, right before the Pro Bowl, he allegedly grabbed a teen seeking his autograph by the neck and bolted with his entourage. This was our quiet hero, the Hall of Famer. Right, their images and realities clashed. Like and subscribe as we examine Aqib Talib. He played for the Buccaneers, Patriots, Broncos, and Rams. Drafted in the first round of 2008, he won a Super Bowl with the Broncos while earning 5 Pro Bowl nods throughout a stellar 12-year career. A legitimate defensive star, a feared cornerback, and the brother of a man who brought a gun to a kid's football game. It was August 13th, 2022, at a youth football field in Lancaster, Texas. Just kids playing on a Saturday. Police said witnesses saw Aqib Talib draw a weapon and repeatedly shoot Michael Hickman during a massive brawl among adults at the game. Today, the widow of the coach murdered during that youth football matchup in Lancaster spoke of her immense pain. Aqib Talib was indicted for the fatal shooting of Michael Hickman investigators noted the violence stemmed from a heated argument between the opposing coaches over calls made by the referees. Aqib Talib pulled the trigger, killing Hickman during that youth football game. The physical confrontation escalated, and Aqib executed Michael right in front of several kids, including Michael's 9-year-old son. A child had to watch his own father get gunned down at a youth game. Aqib Talib was right there when the shots rang out. His lawyer released a statement claiming Aqib was present when this terrible tragedy happened and is deeply devastated by the loss of life. But Aqib faced no criminal charges, though he stood just feet away. The former star quickly stepped away from his role with the Thursday Night Football broadcast crew to focus on family following the arrest. Meanwhile, his brother Aqib Talib, 40 years old, pleaded guilty to murder, accepting a prison term of 37 years, where he will be locked away for 37 years unless his sentence is legally altered or discharged under the law. During the emotional court hearing, Hickman's widow addressed the killer directly, saying, "You killed innocents. You destroyed the dreams of my children and 30 or 40 other kids watching. Who does that? How could you think that was okay?" Silence. There is no excuse for what he did. 37 years. If you want more raw NFL stories, subscribe. Now let us pivot to Richard Sherman. Sherman was born on March 30th, 1988 in Compton, California. Compton, a city heavily defined by gang culture, Bloods and Crips claiming territory block by block. Surviving a neighborhood notorious for intense crime and gang violence, Sherman's parents pushed the value of education and relentless work ethic to escape those harsh realities. But the road out was brutal. Nothing came easy for the future NFL superstar. His best friend and high school teammate was shot and killed. His brother went away for dealing. His father, Kevin Sherman, maintains he was never an official gang member, but hanging around that dangerous crowd eventually caught up with him, which left him shot twice in the chest at 18. He survived those 2 bullets, and he made absolutely sure his young son knew the truth. That kid was Richard Sherman, who took that harsh street lesson and turned it into pure, unadulterated fuel on the gridiron. Despite balling out in college, Sherman fell to the 5th round of the 2011 draft, landing with the Seattle Seahawks. Armed with a massive chip on his shoulder, he arrived in the league ready to destroy his doubters, and quickly established himself as a starting corner and the heartbeat of Seattle's legendary emerging defense. By 2013, he put together a career year, leading the league with 8 interceptions and securing a first-team All-Pro selection. That magical run ended with a 43-8 blowout over Denver in Super Bowl 48, delivering Seattle their very first Vince Lombardi trophy. That is the kid from Compton who saw his father bleed. That is what happens when real street toughness is channeled into greatness. No, he was never in a gang, but Compton raised him, tested his grit, and made him who he is. So when the media labeled him a thug after that legendary post-game interview in 2014, Sherman fired right back, reminding the world of exactly where he came from and the obstacles he overcame to stand on that stage. His words carried real weight. They were earned. Now, hit that subscribe button, because our next story on Jason Avant proves that some lives end in total transformation. Avant is one of the most incredible examples of this. Growing up in Chicago, he was surrounded by gang violence, drugs, and heavy crime from day one. Abandoned by his mother early on, his grandmother stepped up to raise him. With his dad locked up, 12 to 14 relatives crammed into one house. By age 12, Jason was already selling drugs on the block, attending school completely drunk and high. As a teenager, he officially joined the Gangster Disciples, one of Chicago's most notorious and organized street gangs. Dodging bullets and running from the police was just a normal Tuesday. Yet, his grandmother never stopped praying for him. Every night, she laid her hands on him and say, "Lord, let him be different. Let his life change." And Jason, while running those streets, heard those powerful words. They stuck deep inside him. When the police raided his grandmother's home twice, she sold the house before the state could seize it. That is when Avant moved in with his aunt, who pushed him towards school and church. Slowly, the streets lost their grip. He would later look back and say, "I quit selling drugs because I was away from my cousins, and I got into basketball. From basketball to football, from football to the NFL, where he was drafted by the Philadelphia Eagles. That transition was unbelievable." In the locker room, Avant was known for singing gospel songs and carrying his Bible wherever he went. He hosted weekly Bible studies and mentored young rookies, going from dealing on Chicago's tough South Side to becoming one of the most respected, spiritually grounded figures in the entire league. Talk about an inspiring turnaround. Now, smash that like button as we pivot to Deshaun Jackson. This is a story that sits squarely in the gray zone. Jackson was easily one of the most explosive wideouts of his generation. Drafted out of California by Philadelphia, back in 2008, he quickly became a superstar. But during his final season in Philly, he put up 82 catches for over 1,300 yards and 9 touchdowns. Absolute madness. Then, the franchise suddenly cut him. At 27, fresh off a career-best year, things just did not add up. But the real story began leaking out almost immediately. Insiders close to the team pointed to major off-field concerns, missed meetings, a bad attitude, and an inconsistent work ethic. But the real issue was his circle of friends. Reports emerged linking him to active street gang members in Los Angeles. Some were connected to 2 homicides. Among them was Theron Shakir, who faced charges for killing a 14-year-old boy over a rival gang sign. Jackson was never a suspect or a witness, but Shakir was an artist on his record label. The two were constantly seen together, even in jail photos where Jackson wrote, "Free Teasy." That social media post raised some serious eyebrows. A Los Angeles detective even pointed out that Jackson's hand gestures in photos and videos looked exactly like local Crips gang signs. Eagles front office executives decided the veteran receiver had become a major liability for the franchise and the locker room. The front office claimed they worried about his influence on younger players. But Jackson fired back. He insisted he only knew gang members but was never in one. He claimed those hand gestures were just him showing love to his hometown neighborhood. In his own words, "If I score a touchdown or make a play and my boys at home can see me throwing up the area we are from, that is me showing them love, loyalty to where you came from." The Philadelphia did not buy it. Just like that, one of the most explosive wide receivers in the league was gone. From Aaron Hernandez and his confirmed Bloods ties to Eric Johnson leading a human trafficking ring, from Pac-Man Jones and the international robbing crew to Deshaun Jackson's sketchy ties, these stories all share one thing in common. The streets do not let go easily. Which of these cases shocked you the most? Drop your thoughts down in the comments section. Miss our next breakdown?